Dear Mr. Limburg, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, good morning everybody. It's a pleasure for me to address this audience at this early morning and to talk with you about access to ideas, access to information, and indeed access to information, exchange of ideas. To speak freely, this is on a global scale a rare privilege. The vast majority of the global population, 6 in 7 people, lives in countries without a free media. Or in other words, only 1 in 7 people can get information, can form his or her opinion, can freely express his or her opinion without any constraints. This is an alarming obstacle to development in the world. In this way, countries are losing facts and opinions, ideas and creativity. They are losing innovation and perspectives. And we are losing, in other words, knowledge that we really need in order to achieve sustainable development. Last year, the United Nations adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development with 17 Sustainable Development Goals. For the first time ever, all countries in the world adopted such a treaty on our world's future, and it's a paper written in the spirit of partnership, and this has to be implemented. These words have to become deeds, and this spirit of partnership has to be lived in our international community in order to achieve a decent life for all people and not to push our planet beyond its limits. The German government was one of the advocates for including free access to information in the SDGs. And as I told you, all the countries in the world adopted this agenda, including free access to information. Freedom of speech and access to information are key issues for human development. Only if people have the chance to access information and express their views freely will they also be able to assert other rights: food, education, fair working conditions. Poverty can only be reduced if we protect vital natural resources at the same time. Hunger can only be eradicated if we mitigate climate change at the same time. And all this can only be done in a sustainable way if we foster equal opportunities, the rule of law, and access to information at the same time. That's why the German Development Ministry, the BMZ, is working with DW Academy as a strategic partner to foster freedom of expression and access to information worldwide. And governments cannot do that by themselves. Policymakers, civil society, the private sector, and the media can and must indeed do their part if we are to jointly reach our goal of a more sustainable world. And enterprises too have a responsibility when it comes to achieving the SDGs. Economic growth can be a key driver of sustainable development. Here at the BMZ, we therefore consider the private sector a strong partner. We are combining the innovative capacity of the private sector with the knowledge and experience of the development policy community. In that way, we are mobilizing additional private sector potential. And this helps to reinforce development. And companies benefit from attractive markets and vibrant societies that generate demand for new products and services. One important example is our strategic partnership, Digital Africa. Through that partnership, the BMZ wants to work with the private sector to tap into Africa's digital potential and create lasting momentum for development. And digital change is the most powerful force. The internet can be a potent tool for more opportunities, more prosperity, and more freedom. The majority of all internet users worldwide are already living in developing countries, 2 out of 3 billion, and soon 4 billion people will have internet access. The opportunities are enormous, and this includes even remote areas. There are many different examples of small and big digital revolutions. To name but a few, people are managing their business and money by cell phone. This is much more spread in developing countries than here in Germany, by the way. Mobile banking has become commonplace in Kenya and the Philippines. 3D printers and CNC mills can be distributed and used worldwide. Interconnected sensors provide us with weather and climate data. For example, an insurance company in Ghana is using this for its crop failure insurance for smallholder farmers. In Uganda, a cooperative of coffee farmers is using a smartphone app to reduce its administrative cost and make its value chain much more efficient. So there is a broad variety of opportunities in using digital technologies for sustainable development. However, the basis for such digital progress is reliable access to the World Wide Web. And the BMZ is already supporting more than 270 projects in over 70 countries with ICT components. This means we are a leader in this field worldwide. However, what matters is an enabling environment. If we want optimum development, including in the private sector, we need an open, free, and participatory internet. In many countries, the situation is dominated by censorship and checks, hate language, and surveillance that slows down innovation and wastes economic potential. The economic benefits of the internet and digital technologies can only be realized if there can be an open and free exchange of ideas and information. And enterprises will only be competitive if they have access to reliable information. That's why the BMZ is providing advice to its partner countries on digital regulation. Relevant legislation should strengthen the freedom of speech, access to information, and privacy protection. The challenge is to give direction to global digital interconnectedness. The internet must be accessible to all people. Access to comprehensive digital information must not be a privilege for the chosen few. The internet must protect human rights and privacy. It must not be used as a mass surveillance technology. And the internet must give people access to education and opportunities for participation. It should be a place where people can gather information and make their voices heard. This gives rise to projects such as the Nigerian Follow the Money initiative, which was presented here yesterday. The initiative monitors whether aid money really reaches its destination. Team members go to the villages and follow up on the promises made by politicians. They publish their findings in easy-to-understand diagrams on their website. Or take the Our Health, Our Voice project. It gives women in northern India a chance to alert the public to illegal fees in birth clinics. They can report the fees by cell phone. And while they remain anonymous themselves, their information will help other women. This kind of transparency prevents corruption. Both projects use digital tools to empower people who were previously on the fringes of the digital transformation. People who don't own a smartphone or a tablet computer as a matter of course. People who live in regions where mobile coverage is patchy. We can learn from those initiatives. The BMZ therefore supports DW Academy in identifying projects of this type and putting their insights to use for other regions or topics. Or just to add our last example, we had a conference on ICT for refugees just 2 weeks ago in Berlin, offering new methods and services invented by refugees, operated by refugees, and used by refugees. So this is a very good example of how to empower people to use their knowledge and to convene the opportunities we have with our partners. To conclude, I have a request to you as media representatives. It's your task to take a close and critical look at what we, the politicians, are doing or not all over the world. So remind us of our promises on freedom of speech and a free media, not least in the context of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development adopted by nearly all the countries. Use your investigative skill to pinpoint development obstacles such as corruption and give a voice to all people. Globally sustainable development requires that as many people as possible take part in public discourse. And this requires that first and foremost, communication must function. For globally equitable development, 1 in 7 people is not enough. So there is a lot of work to do. We count on you. We offer our cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thomas Silberhorn, thank you very much. That was an inspiring talk, particularly for journalists when we both understand what the challenge is in trying to extend our work to reach the other 6 out of 7 who don't have access to free and fair information, and the link between that sort of information and sustainable development in the world. So again, people can make informed choices about their governments, about their policies, and about their behaviors. This also leads very nicely into our panel discussion that's coming up right now. It's a